Welcome back to Epic Quotes, the channel that brings you the most inspiring and impactful stories from history. Today, we're diving into the fascinating life of one of the world's most powerful and groundbreaking rulers, Catherine the Great. How did a German princess, born into relative obscurity, become the longest reigning female ruler of Russia? What lessons can we learn from her rise to power, her reign, and the legacy she left behind? Stay tuned as we uncover the life story of Catherine the Great and the key takeaways that can inspire your own journey. Catherine the Great. Her name is synonymous with grandeur, intellect, and transformation, but Catherine's life was not defined by her birth or her initial circumstances. Instead, she carved out a legacy of power, wisdom, and unprecedented reforms. Her story is one of resilience, bold decisions, and visionary leadership. Today we'll explore her incredible journey from a young German princess to one of Russia's greatest and most iconic rulers, and in doing so, we'll uncover powerful lessons that still resonate with us today. Catherine the Great was born on May 2, 1729 in Stettin, Prussia, now part of modern-day Germany, as Sophie Friederike August von Anhalt-Zerbst. Though she came from a noble family, Catherine's early life was far from the opulence that would define her later years. Her father, Prince Christian Augustus, was a minor German noble with little political influence, and her mother, Johanna Elisabeth of Holstein-Gottorp, dreamed of achieving greater power through her children. Catherine's family was not among the most powerful in Europe, and this reality would stay with her throughout her life, influencing her sense of ambition. From an early age, Catherine showed an intense intellectual curiosity and a sharp political mind. Educated by private tutors, she learned languages, history, philosophy, and the arts. Catherine was particularly interested in the works of French Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire and Montesquieu, whose ideas would go on to influence her reign. She knew that her noble family's position wasn't enough to secure a throne, so she would have to rely on her intelligence, perseverance, and vision to rise to prominence. Catherine was not born into power, but she saw education, knowledge, and determination as her tools for success. She proved that with enough ambition, anyone can transcend their circumstances and achieve greatness. At 16, Catherine's life took a momentous turn when she was chosen to marry Peter III, the heir to the Russian throne. Catherine's marriage was part of a diplomatic alliance between Prussia and Russia. Upon her arrival in Russia, she was converted to the Russian Orthodox Church, took the name Ekaterina Alexeyevna, and began her life at the Russian court. While her marriage initially seemed like the key to a promising future, it quickly became clear that her husband, Peter III, was not fit to rule. Peter was erratic, impulsive, and often insensitive to the needs of Russia. His ideas were viewed as un-Russian and detrimental to the country's interests. His reign, lasting only 6 months, was marked by poor decisions, including the alienation of key figures in the Russian court and military. Though their marriage was fraught with tension and mutual disdain, Catherine kept her composure and quietly began to study the workings of the Russian Empire. She realized that the country needed leadership, and she believed she could provide that leadership. Catherine's time in this unfulfilling marriage was, paradoxically, the beginning of her political rise. While Peter indulged in his personal whims, Catherine worked to build alliances with influential figures, gaining their trust and support. She learned Russian, honed her diplomatic skills, and carefully observed the weaknesses of the existing government. Little did she know that this period would lay the foundation for her eventual ascension to the throne. Sometimes your greatest challenge becomes your greatest opportunity. Catherine's marriage to Peter was a difficult and unloving one, but instead of retreating into despair, she saw it as an opportunity to learn and build alliances. In adversity, Catherine found the space to grow and plan for a future beyond the limitations of her circumstances. In 1762, Catherine's moment finally arrived. Peter III's reign was disastrous. His unpopular reforms alienated both the military and the Russian aristocracy, making him vulnerable. His political isolation and erratic behavior led to his downfall. Catherine, with the support of the military and key members of the Russian nobility, staged a coup. Peter was deposed, and soon after, he was mysteriously killed, paving the way for Catherine to ascend to the throne. Catherine's coup was not the result of a single, impulsive act. Rather, it was the culmination of years of quiet preparation, careful networking, and strategic alliances. She had spent time building relationships with influential military leaders, court officials, and nobles who would eventually support her. Her ability to outmaneuver Peter and seize the throne demonstrated both her political acumen and her willingness to act decisively when the moment was right. Catherine's rise to power is a testament to the importance of timing, patience, and strategic planning and leadership. She knew that her opportunity would come and that she needed to be prepared to seize it when it did. Take control of your destiny. Catherine didn't wait for power to fall into her lap. She created the conditions for her success. Her coup was a calculated, decisive move that changed the course of Russian history. Her story teaches us that sometimes taking control of our destiny means making bold, decisive moves at the right moment. Once in power, Catherine the Great turned her attention to stabilizing and expanding the Russian Empire. One of her earliest actions as Empress was to continue expanding Russia's borders. She waged successful military campaigns that saw the annexation of Crimea, parts of Poland, and territory along the Black Sea. Under her leadership, Russia became a dominant force in Europe. But Catherine's ambitions went beyond military conquest. She was deeply committed to reforming Russia's internal structure. She modernized Russia's legal system, introduced new educational policies, and promoted the arts. Catherine worked to create a more progressive Russia, one that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the great European powers of the time. Her reforms, though often limited by the political realities of the time, laid the groundwork for the modernization of Russia. Catherine was also known for her intellectual curiosity. She communicated with some of the greatest minds of the Enlightenment, including Voltaire and Diderot. Her engagement with these thinkers inspired her policies and reforms, as she sought to bring Enlightenment ideas into Russia. Though her reign was marked by contradictions, she promoted Enlightenment ideals but also ruled with absolute authority. Her intellectual engagement was an important part of her legacy. Catherine's rule was defined not just by territorial expansion, but by her efforts to modernize Russia. Her commitment to reform, education, and the arts helped shape the Russian Empire into a European power. Great leaders don't just conquer, they create legacies that impact their societies for generations to come. Catherine's legacy extends far beyond her political and military accomplishments. She was a passionate patron of the arts and culture. During her reign, St. Petersburg became a center of European art, music, and literature. Catherine herself was an accomplished writer and intellectual, regularly corresponding with European philosophers, thinkers, and artists. Her support for the arts wasn't just a reflection of her own personal tastes. It was part of a larger strategy to elevate Russia's cultural standing. By promoting the arts, Catherine helped to bring European cultural trends to Russia, elevating Russian society to new levels of sophistication. She also played a key role in the establishment of institutions like the Hermitage Museum, which would go on to become one of the most famous museums in the world. Her engagement with Enlightenment thinkers helped bring ideas of liberty, justice, and reform to Russia, though, like many rulers of her time, she struggled to fully implement these ideals within the structure of the monarchy. Still, her reign marks an important moment in Russia's cultural and intellectual development. Leaders are also learners. Catherine's intellectual engagement with the greatest minds of Europe shows us that leadership is not just about commanding others, it's about continually learning, growing, and seeking new ideas. By embracing Enlightenment ideals, Catherine elevated not only herself, but the entire Russian Empire. Catherine the Great passed away in 1796 after 34 years on the throne, leaving behind a Russia that was vastly different from the one she had inherited. She expanded the empire, modernized its infrastructure, and enriched its cultural life. But more than that, she showed that a woman, in a time when women were expected to play secondary roles in politics, could rise to the highest levels of power and rule with wisdom, strength, and grace. Creature's legacy is one of transformation. She made Russia a global power, and her reign marked a turning point in Russian history. While she faced criticism for her policies on serfdom and for not fully implementing the ideals she espoused, her impact is undeniable. Today, Catherine the Great is remembered as one of the greatest female rulers in history, a visionary leader whose contributions to Russia and the world continue to be celebrated. Catherine's reign wasn't without its flaws, but she left an indelible mark on Russia and the world. Her ability to modernize her country, expand its borders, and elevate its culture proves that true leadership is not just about what you achieve in your lifetime, but the lasting influence you leave behind. Catherine the Great's life teaches us that greatness is not defined by the circumstances we are born into, but by the actions we take to shape our futures. She turned obstacles into opportunities, seized control when the moment was right, and, despite the challenges she faced, left a legacy that changed the course of Russian history forever. Catherine's journey reminds us that leadership requires courage, vision, and the ability to turn challenges into stepping stones for success. If you found her story inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more incredible stories from history. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more stories of legendary figures whose lives continue to inspire us. Remember, history's greatest lessons are just a click away on Epic Quotes.